What is up, fam? My name is John Gill, and welcome to another episode of Chili's in the Bowl. Today, we have my buddy Daniel Ramirez, and I gotta say, this episode really hit home for me a little bit. I really got to know Dan's backstory and where he came from and how he went about things, and I couldn't help but relate to my backstory and where I came from and have a lot in common with him. So in that aspect, I really felt like this episode was pretty special to me. We also talk about his goals in photography. We talk about what he wants to accomplish in 2021 and overall, just what he is all about. So I'm pretty excited to get into it. Without further ado, let's get it. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Great. Doing better.
Thank you for coming to the CITB studio.
Yeah, I love it.
It's not much, but you know what? We're making it work.
Hey, you got to start off small. I love it.
For those of you listening, we are talking to my brother, Daniel Ramirez. Tell them a little bit about yourself, brother.
So let's see. 27 years old, kind of was born and raised around here. Always been in the Azusa, San Gabriel area. Let's see. I do photography, do graphic design. I've been doing that for the past 3.5 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Went to school for it for a little bit and then kind of just decided to self-teach myself. So yeah, that's kind of been what I've been doing for the past, that's kind of my passion. That's kind of my direction. That's my end goal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I met you through our mutual buddy, Coda.
Yep.
Dakota Gonzalez. He plays drums for my band Focus. But I've known Coda for many, many years since he was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And we would always see each other, because we've always, Coda and I would always jam and perform at his house. And, you were always there with your buddies,
Mm-hmm.
skateboarding. That's another, outlet that you guys have. But it really wasn't until you started kind of hanging around with us in Focus,
Mm-hmm.
where you started taking pictures and photography. And that's where we started to develop our friendship that I feel has extended outside of the music, with talks of us wanting to make a little short film
Right.
and getting into transitioning into film. But I've always seen your work, your photography, all the, the pictures that you would take. And it's amazing quality, man.
I appreciate that.
That's no joke. We always talk about it. It's such amazing work to the point where we added it onto one of our shirts.
Right.
Which will be releasing really soon.
Yeah, man, it's an honor too. So.
Oh man, no, absolutely. For me, it's really good quality. So, I want to know, what was it that got you into photography?
So I guess going back on the Dakota and friendship thing, I grew up in the area and, went to all, elementary school, middle school, and high school in the same area. So it was nice kind of growing up, knowing the same people. And, I had a friend named Johnny down the street. We started skating, listening to music, hip hop, punk rock, all that type of stuff. And then, Dakota was actually down the street. So I ended up seeing him because he was skating too. So we all kind of just, we're all down the street from each other. So we were just, grew up skating and just kind of going to shows and just, we did graffiti as well. So we were always in the art and just, that's who we were, and we didn't really do good in school. We were kind of just focused on that type of stuff. And, we like I said, we did our thing and, growing up, I didn't really start getting into art as far as commercial art, probably, like I said, probably around 3.5 years ago. And I went to school for it. And, it was one of those things where I kind of felt a little, didn't know what I was going to do in life. I wasn't, like I said, I wasn't interested in school. Skateboarding, obviously, I knew I wasn't going to be something that I can be pro at.
No,
I was pretty good, but I wasn't as far as, something that every single day. And, I just wanted to express myself through some sort of art. And I just decided to go to school for photography. That was the first thing I went for. I just let me just pick up a camera. Never really was interested in it. but took a few classes. Then I did design as well.
And where did you go to school for it?
I went to school at Mount Sac.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
So,
I feel like a lot of people went and did, I know they also have programs for like radio.
right. Oh yeah. You know what? I've heard really good things. Like obviously that's the only community college I ever went to, but I've heard from Cal Poly students that that's one of the best community colleges around. And like I said, I don't really know because I've never been to anywhere else, but
For sure.
I've heard really good things about like audio and, film and photography. So, I didn't go specifically for, that's a good school.
It's just something you wanted to try.
Right.
For sure. And, taking it back to what you had said that really stuck out, when you were younger, you weren't good at school. Like you would just constantly skate and listen to punk. And I also feel in that time was a period where I'm sure you got that bug for art. Not necessarily photography, but that was kind of the building blocks for you wanting to transition into photography, really invest more in your art in another way. On the other side with me, I feel like that was the same thing. You're young, you're not really, as much as you are supposed to be focused on your education.
Yeah.
Your passion kind of sometimes leads you into another direction. For me, that was music. Constantly listening to punk bands myself, hardcore bands, rock bands, whatever whatever it was. It led me into my passion that it is today, which is music.
Right.
In turn, led into me wanting to transition into the podcasting game because I would find people like yourself having similar stories like me, which is why I wanted to have you onto the podcast, onto this episode, to be able to get to know more of that backstory that I find is very similar to mine.
Right. And it's a good thing to look at because as artists, you kind of like I feel like you're born somewhat, your experiences kind of create, that desire to create, and, your upbringing and the people you hung around with, the music you were around. And, going back to the school thing, I never was good at it. And I think like I was good at other things like skateboarding.
Oh, 100%. It's almost like we were on like a different wavelength.
Right.
For sure.
And I think any art, if you're a painter, if you're, photography, sculptor, whatever it may be, it's something that we kind of all have in common. It's something that we express ourselves, and if we don't do it constantly, we feel empty inside, I guess.
For sure.
And growing up, I never really felt like I was kind of worth anything because of school. That stigma of like, if you're not good at school, you're not going to be anybody.
No, for sure. I mean, I think it's just important to understand that it's not necessarily that you were worth anything or not, but you just had different. It was just a different, you had a different characteristic, if I should, if that's
right.
word or phrase that we want to call it. It was just, there were other things that you were good at.
Yeah.
And I feel like art has always been something for you that was like a calling, even though you were still very young and maybe you didn't understand it at that point. I feel now, 2021, I feel like you have a more of an understanding because, dude, like your pictures, how you're able to create such art from simple structures. Like you can go to a liquor store and take a picture and then it looks amazing. Or the picture on the shirt for our new Focus design.
Right.
It's a picture of a car.
Right.
But the way you're able to capture that's art in itself right there.
Yeah.
Brother.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I appreciate that, man. And you know what? I'm not any far like the best, but people like yourself and the few other people that definitely support me, that's really what matters to me. Like I genuinely love what I'm doing, especially right now. In the beginning, it's a little rocky, especially with anything you start. But as far as right now, I feel confident in what I'm doing. I feel like I'm on the right path, and anybody that can experience that with me or enjoy it with me, cool. If it's two people, one person, that's fine with me. As long as
for sure.
As long as someone's genuine about it, and you guys always gravitated towards that. But I think anybody that's listening to this, you might feel that you're not good at certain things, like, society, like, hey, you got to be good at this to be successful. Gravitate towards what you're passionate about and see what that can do, with the internet nowadays and electronics and stuff. Like, there's so many possibilities nowadays. And, like I said, a couple years ago, when I was in high school, what was it, 2011?
For sure, yeah.
Instagram was up and stuff, but it wasn't how it is nowadays, and, back in the day, you just like photography, art. No, I can't make it like that because how you're raised, my parents were good people, but they were, working class people. They didn't really believe in that. It was
very
just
traditional.
Yeah. You don't really go for that. You go for a 9-to-5 job, and that's just how life is. You do that on the side. And so, having the social media and stuff really helps, kind of putting myself out there and getting judged by other people and kind of just seeing my progress. So it's a blessing. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time to have.
Yeah, for sure. I think with anything creative, you're always going to get both sides.
Right.
You're going to get the people that are really supportive. Then you're going to get the people that are always going to have a critique, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just a matter of you kind of distinguishing the two and not letting it get to you,
right.
But when you were at Mount Sac taking the classes, at what point did you feel like, hey, you know what, like I'm gonna go full force with this, like it's really taking over my love for what art is? Like at one point were you kind of at getting to that, like I want to do this like full on?
Okay, yeah. It's funny because I know if I was asked, because it was a big pivotal point in my life. I was kind of stagnant, right after high school, and for a few years I was just kind of like, just kind of living. And I went to school originally just to go back, just to figure out what I want or what's interesting me. I went for like general ed, and I went for math, and I went to do, I think I did science. And I did that for a little bit. And, like I said, I went with a different mindset of just like, let me just go ahead and learn. Because I went to community college right after high school for maybe a year, dropped out, went to work for like a year, and then went back. And then that's when, I find myself in math. And I actually really enjoyed math. And I felt a sense of just different drive that I had in high school. I didn't care at all. Like I just didn't care. I didn't do homework, and I felt like going back for some reason. I went with a different mindset. I kind of was doing my homework. I felt a sense of passion doing that stuff, and then I got into like English and stuff, and I completely felt lost. Like I was in a classroom and I didn't relate to anybody else. And I know some people listening are like, well, that's just life. I can't do that.
I feel you.
I have to go on.
Oh no, go for it.
Like I have to always be somewhere where I feel like I thrive in, and if I don't feel at home in a certain spot, like, especially when it comes to my career and my goals, like it's not for me.
Man, I totally relate to you, man. Just because I remember being in those classrooms and it was so hard for me to just pay attention.
Yeah, man.
So I would always just put my headphones on.
Right.
I would always resort back to the thing that I knew, and that was music.
Right.
Like legit.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I wasn't interested, or if the teacher just wasn't engaging enough for me to want to pay attention.
For sure.
But it would literally go in through one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
And so I would just resort to the thing that I knew and I felt comfortable.
Right.
And that was me just putting headphones on and then bumping music.
Yeah.
And luckily I was I was seated in a place where he couldn't see me, and I would always wear hoodies.
Good. Yeah.
So, I mean, hey man, there's nothing wrong with that. Because at the end of the day, you're going to do what you want to do.
Right.
In regards to what, school and life. And to be honest, I feel like you've put yourself in a position where your art is kind of letting you express yourself.
Right.
And to transition into that, I know when we first met, a lot of the things that we were talking about, aside from the photography, was film.
Okay.
you know, we had the idea to make a short film,
Right.
which we're still gonna do.
Yeah, we're definitely doing
yeah,
it.
we're still gonna do. But where did you transition into that? Where you were interested in filming, filming like little short stories, or you know, getting into that field.
Right. You know, I think it starts, you know, obviously, well, I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard some people start in film and it helps them with photo, and then I've heard vice versa. But I never really thought that far ahead. I just was like, let me just take photos. It's a little bit instantaneous, you know, and both have their pros and cons. But, you know, after doing that for a while, taking a few classes at Mount Sac, I actually had this professor that kind of did it was a photography video class, but it was more like content creation, you know, for platforms or whatever. YouTube. He's actually a YouTuber, and he's pretty successful too. He's an older dude. He's like 50 or 60 years old, and he has a really successful channel. And so he kind of got in the you know, hey, don't just do photo, do video as well. It's really important. You know, having both of those will be more, you know, you can be more successful, whatever. Always been into film. And maybe like this past, like after I took that class was why like a year and a half ago, I made like a little short film with actually Dakota. You know, we were shooting at his house, and kind of it flowed really well, and it was just something that never really had like a dialogue or anything. It was just kind of like cinematography. You know, it had like composition and stuff and good lighting, and yeah, I really liked that. I was always intimidated with video though because of the editing and stuff, and I was just like, well, I'll do it once in a while. But, you know, just keep doing it. And I found it easier. And once you learn the program, with any program you do, you get better at it and you feel more confident and you start seeing what you can do. So, yeah. And then, like I said, you asked me to do that short film, and I was like, cool, it's a good opportunity to.
Yeah. And that's something I'm very excited about, because I have seen some edits that you have done with film, you know, with the music video, when we were here sitting on my couch, and you're just kind of showing me the, you know, what you had so far. It's I know it's not an easy thing to do,
Right.
And from what I saw, you made it look very effortlessly. Like, it was dope, man.
I appreciate that.
It was really good, really fluid, and that is what got me even more excited when we started to come up with the ideas and the building blocks of our short film.
Right.
And yeah, you know, I just get excited when I see friends of mine just going and getting it.
Right.
Whatever it is that you want to do, even though it's still in the early stages and it's still very fresh. I feel that's the challenge is what gets like me going.
Of course.
And with anything, it could, like I said, it could be with this podcast too.
Oh, absolutely. You know, like when I found out that you know, I seen, it was like I forgot what day it was, but it was, I talked to you maybe a little bit before Christmas, and then I can't remember what day you mentioned it to me, but you're like, I'm thinking about starting a podcast, and then literally the first week of the new year, you bought all your gear, and I was like, dude, this guy's serious. And it got me excited because, you know, so many people can talk, you know, and you know, obviously no one's perfect, but you know, I don't really get excited over talking anymore. Once I see it, I'm kind of like, oh wow, like this person's actually following through, and it got me really excited about yourself too. And look at, I'm here sitting here now, like it's a reality.
Yeah, man. And it's, again, it's one of those things where if I put my mind into something, I'm gonna do it full force.
Good.
And then it's the same with us wanting to do our short film. Like, how many nights would you come over and we're like, you know, doing shots, kind of getting the, what do you call it, principal photography, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, getting the ideas and then getting excited because we're actually doing it. Unfortunately, because of, you know, COVID and you know, it was also the holidays.
Yeah.
We had to put a little pause on it, but the point, we still, I feel like, got really far into that process because it's the same thing where we talked about wanting to do a short film, and then literally within a couple of weeks we were already getting ideas, and you brought all your gear, and you know, we were recording you know, shots that would work for the short film. Like, that kind of stuff for me motivates me because it's like, it's becoming a reality, and the thought of always wanting, you want to start something or you want to build something. It's like it comes from the mind. It comes from a little idea that you had, and then it's turning into a reality.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the podcast, man. It literally took me about a couple of weeks for me to just get everything and start it.
Right.
From when I spoke with you, it was literally about a week.
And that's not that long, to be honest. It could be longer.
And I don't know shit about podcasting aside on the behind the scenes sides. Like, I love podcasting. I knew I always wanted to do one, but I didn't know anything, and so I had to really do my research and talk to friends and get as much information as I possibly could to be able to do this. Right. And for me, it's changed my life because I'm finding another passion, another outlet where I can come and speak with talented people like yourself, people who have influenced me, whether you don't know it or not, because our friendship is even though we've seen each other in passing, like I feel like we've really established our relationship and our friendship this past year, 2020.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so this just gives me an opportunity to sit down with you, really get to know you as a person, but also your talent, which is dope, because I feel like I didn't know your backstory as far as like your school. Like, hey, like I didn't like it. I wasn't really into it. I didn't feel that connection with education, or I didn't feel like I was good enough for it. Man, dude, that was me in high school.
Yeah.
It was literally like you were talking to me, and I could just picture those times in me in the classroom trying to, grasp that information, but it just wasn't processing for me.
Right. And I think that's why it's so important to have podcasts and have stuff like this, because some people might not know that, like I said, I don't know about you, but what I mentioned before, you kind of in school, you're not doing so well, and you're just like, I'm not cut out for life, and you just, so it's good to talk about this and relate, because thousands of other people feel in the same way, where they feel like they don't belong. And, so kind of going back on what you said earlier about, starting, and it's like, you don't know shit about what you're doing. That's part of it. It's in the beginning, it's very nasty, it's could be dirty, but you're vulnerable, and you're kind of, but that's the only way to begin,
I think what's key too is the consistency.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's photography or video content, or whether it's on music and podcasting, it's always key to just keep going.
Right.
Because this isn't like the end all be all as far as like my ability or your ability. You're always going to progress and get better.
Right.
You're always going to get to another level or another point in your, career, where you're going to look back and you're just going to be like, holy shit. Like, I was worried and stressed at this point because I didn't feel like I was, capable of doing it, but look where I'm at now.
Right.
And I always I'm reverting a lot to your photography, where you were saying, hey, this wasn't really something like photography wasn't like a thing that I wanted to do, but look where you're at now.
Right.
And I feel that's why you have to build that community with people that are like-minded like you and me. Whether it's music, whether it's video content, it's important to kind of always stick together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know with you that we have another mutual friend, Zach Perez.
Oh yeah.
With Astral Media.
Yeah.
Have there been moments with you and him where you guys sat down and kind of just picked each other's brains?
Yeah, it's funny because I met him at we used to work at Applebee's together, and we were it was like me and two other guys that were hosts, and I never knew of him before that. And, we started talking when we were like, working, and we're like, it was funny because we were always like, I can't wait until we leave this job. This is just a stepping stone. And like, we would always talk about film and photo. And I think we were already dabbling in that, but it was just funny how now we can kind of look at us and like, I am so, blown away of what he can do now. And I'm like, I trip out on his stuff, and I'm like, wow, like, that's incredible, and of look how far I came as well. But it's funny how we kind of talked about it and we went our own ways. He ended up leaving and just taking a chance, So that was pretty cool how I met him and seen that. And we actually shot a few times. He invited me to a couple video shoots of his, and I was kind of there, just kind of shadowing him, just looking at what he did and stuff.
Sure.
So that was cool. I haven't seen him for a while, but he's doing really good, and like I said, I'm really proud of him.
What would you say are some takeaways that you learned while doing the shoot with him?
I think
or things that you have noticed.
Right. The things that I noticed, I guess, kind of production set. That's something different that I've never really, even with my photography, I don't really like set up anything. It's kind of always documentary style, for the most part. It's kind of like posing here and there. But yeah, it was cool. He had a whole setup in a warehouse. So that was interesting. And that right there kind of takes your photo and video to the next level. Just having a design like that. And then what else? Just like communication and stuff, like with the subjects. And as far as the camera, I felt pretty confident with. But yeah, just little things like that. Just stuff that when you're in the field, they don't even teach you in school. You have to almost go out there.
It's experience.
It's experience.
For sure.
So.
And I noticed that a big factor with you from the couple times that we have shot is natural light. Mm-hmm. You're really big on wanting to use the natural light. Is that
Right.
part of your process, or?
It was it's funny. It's not even a something that I wanted to do. It's not something that it just, I didn't have enough money for lights. Simple as that,
Yeah. No.
And I found it kind of, when I first got into photography, it was always street photography and documentary. So it never was, produced. And then I remember I met my friend in school, and he was doing artificial lighting. And he was like, "Hey man, you need to really get into this. It's gonna change your." And I'm like, whatever, I don't have the money for it, and it's complicated. That's not photography for my, that's
from your standpoint.
From my standpoint at the moment, But then, as far getting in the commercial world, it helps. It really helps to have that, and to really be able to go into a scene and not rely on natural light, because you're not going to always get the best light. You're not going to always be next to a window. You're not going to always be, the sun's not, it could be cloudy, so having that on the side will really give you more flexibility. And I ended up buying a light probably, I think 4 or 5 months ago, and it was, it's like $600-$700 for the whole set. It's simple, but it actually really, it's fun. And I actually did a shoot with you a couple months ago.
It's a difference maker.
It is.
But there's something about the natural light that I really like.
Right.
From the pictures that I have seen that you've taken,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to capture. It's almost raw.
Right.
Really raw, and it just depends on location too.
Right.
Location's big and key, but I almost prefer that raw take that you have, that raw approach,
For
because
sure.
that's what it is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
But the photo shoots that we did too, you had the light, you had that setup, that was also very legit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always going to be different realms,
Right.
ballparks. I feel like and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I feel when you're doing the photo shoots and that aspect, you have to have the lighting, and it has to be a certain way. But when you flip it over to the natural lighting, it's almost guerrilla style, like you were saying.
Right.
Very you almost have to time it too.
Yeah, it's all about time.
And that's something that I learned from you when we were doing the the principal photography for our short film.
Right.
Capturing that moment, and it's we only have a limited amount of time
Right.
to be able to do this until the sun sets, and then we're screwed.
Of course.
But if I had to pick the two, I prefer the natural lighting,
Mm-hmm.
the more raw guerrilla, because there's something about it that's just beautiful.
For sure. And I think I'll always be more, on that side with my photo work. And I think if I do purchase any more lights, it'll be very just to add to it rather than completely overpower a scene, And I know, and I'm not even, it's just your style. I've met, I've heard of photographers and on YouTube or whatever, or even the people that I went to school with, where every scene they set up 3 lights, doesn't matter what they do. It's just
sure.
3 lights, and it's powerful. not my style, but like I said, in my photo and video work, I want probably 80% natural light. If I need to throw in a light to fill in some shadows, then no problem. But I think majority of the time, like I only want to use lights just to add a little finesse to it.
For
I don't
sure.
want to ever overpower a scene, because to me, it just doesn't feel as I don't know. It doesn't feel as powerful to me. I don't know why.
For sure. I mean, but that's cool. I mean, I prefer, like I said, I prefer it that way, because you capture everything. You know, if you need to finesse, if you need to have that extra lighting, cool. But there's just something about that.
There's a time and a place for it, I think.
If it calls for it, cool. If it doesn't, even better.
Right, exactly. Like if you're outside for the most part, you can kind of use what's around you, unless it's, but studio, I'm like, let's do lights, like if there's no window, let's do lights. Let's put a light in the back. Let's put a light, in the front, and see what happens, but yeah, that's kind of just, there's a time and a place, like I said.
For sure. And it also reminds me of the color band lighting that I had bought, that we were talking about using it for like police sirens.
Right.
Completely different ballpark, different scenario, but that also added an element when we were recording, when we were transitioning into the film, and we wanted to have like a police siren in the film.
For sure.
And I mean, that also is a difference maker, because I mean, I don't know anything about lights, but I bought those for performing, for focus when we perform live, but it gave me the idea to use it for police sirens, because you were showing me videos of when they're filming, how they kind of do the sirens, from the background.
Yeah, it's so simple.
And that's things that I'm learning from you that I would have never thought. So, and it's using what we have already.
Right.
It's almost like the MacGyver method, or
for sure.
The old, doing whatever you got to do to make this shit work.
Right.
So that's cool. That I would have never known.
Yeah.
But transitioning it to the next topic that I wanted to ask you was about your your content company that you had. Was it 6th Street?
6th Street's Deep.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about that.
So originally, it's a hip hop group in the I think it was 93 they came out, 92, 93. And it's the guy that created it's the RZA from Wu-Tang.
Yeah.
And he had a side project called Gravediggers.
Okay.
And there's super dope stuff. Like they talk about like death rap and stuff. Like just their rhymes are insane. And my friend Johnny introduced me to them, and Dakota knows them too. And they have a song called, it's been a while since I've looked at 6 Feet Deep. That's what their album was, I believe, or a song. It might have been both. And I don't know. I had I wanted to create something. I think this was already like a year ago. And like I said, at 6 Feet Deep, and then I was like, I do street photography, and then I was like 6 Streets Deep. I made a magazine, a zine actually at school, because that was one of the projects to do, and it was like name the magazine, show what you did throughout the semester, and put it into a little zine, and I just named it 6 Streets Deep. And I don't know. After that, I kind of was like, that's kind of cool. It kind of flows off the tongue. I like the whatever's behind it,
like the reference.
Yeah, for
sure.
And I ended up making a shirt, and then I made another shirt, and I kind of just never really had I didn't really have a specific goal with it. I was just like, hey, I like creating stuff on Photoshop and Illustrator, and I don't really I'm not really a huge fan of graphic design as commercially, as far as creating other things. So I was like, let me just create shirts, and so I just made one, and I was like, it did really well. It sold.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
It did really well. And then I made another shirt just to, like I said, no specific goal. I was like, let me just, it was a form of putting my art out there. That's all it was.
And I mean, it's also encouraging when you're saying that, it did really well.
Yeah.
It sold shirts. I mean, I would imagine that would motivate you to continue, which I'm sure you did,
right,
up to a point,
Right. Well, actually, in the beginning, when I started that, I had a little bit of money, obviously I had a little unemployment money, kind of just stacking a little bit.
Get that paper, son.
Yeah, man. So I was like, I'm going to, instead of throwing this money out, I'm going to kind of invest it into something, so I was like, cool, perfect. I invested. If it doesn't do well, it's not a big deal. I didn't really waste money,
Yeah.
So
it was a passion project.
It was a passion project. So that's why, so I did those two, and then I have already hats made, they're already made on the internet and stuff, and mocked up. I just haven't made put them out yet. Maybe next summer. I kind of felt a little, maybe the past couple months, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I'm not too sure if I'm going to go forth with this. I don't know. We'll see, especially with the money and stuff. I think it's a good idea. But like, we'll see. I'm just wondering if this is the direction I want to go.
Yeah, you're at I wouldn't call it a crossroads, but you have options.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, the way I see it, there's, I'm looking at roads. They call it we call it, us musicians, it's the crossroads.
Interesting.
Where, you reach a point where it's like, well, what direction am I going to take? And I feel for yourself with 6th Street Deep, and then you got transitioning into film, and then you got your photography. You have options, which is really good.
Right.
It's really up to you where you want to go.
Right.
But I mean, you could also say, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do all three and
That's
just
true.
and balance it."
That's true.
It's just it's being organized and just being able to balance the work life. Because we're still grinding.
Yeah.
We're still having the 9 to 5. But then also working on your job, which is your passion and where you want to go.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like the name is really catchy. Like you said, it rolls off the tongue. I love the reference of the name.
Yeah.
Why not, man?
Yeah. No,
Why
I know.
not?
I guess I kind of, and I think you can relate to anything in life where if you're, any type of occupation where you do, like you said, with the, with you and your music, it's like you come to a crossroads where you're kind of like, and I think we actually mentioned it maybe the last time we talked about where you almost want to make your life very strategic and designed properly.
For sure.
Where, you kind of, because I've heard of so many podcasts about it before, and it's just like it's an interesting concept where you just kind of like you cut out the stuff that really doesn't maybe distract you in a way, and you kind of it's a judgment call. I mean, it might be a whole lifelong judgment call, but it's something that it's like you kind of have to analyze your life, and you have to be like, okay, what's serving me and what's kind of not serving me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's very important, man. There was a point where I felt I had too much going on.
Right.
And then I made that conscious decision to just be like, you know what, fuck it. Like, whatever I feel isn't necessary for me, I'm going to just cut.
Right.
And what I feel is something that I can continue to do to be able to get myself to that next level. I'll work on that.
For sure.
And I feel when I made that decision, it was, it was very uplifting for me. It felt like a weight off my back.
Right.
Because at that point it allowed me it was like almost clearing the fog from my eyes.
Absolutely.
And I was able to see a little more clear and kind of find other avenues to be able to succeed.
Right.
And I think that's just really important, taking it to, with the podcast. Like, if I would have continued to have done the things that we were talking about, about cutting, I probably would have never had the opportunity to start this, or I wouldn't even have the time.
For sure. For sure.
And I think it just comes down to being organized and strategic, and then allowing yourself the opportunity to just go for shit that you've always wanted to go for.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we're limited time on this earth, and you kind of have to, you never know when your time's up. God forbid anything happens, but
dude, take it by the horns, man.
Take it by the horns,
go crazy.
Who cares? Just do it, and obviously you have to put food on the table, and if you have to do that for now, but the things aren't serving you, and you feel like maybe you're doing it for other people or whatever it may be. Try to see if you can cut that out and put a little bit more percentage into something that you actually want to do. And I guess that's what I'm talking about with the clothing brand. I'm like, do I go for it? It is something on the side I can focus on. But see, I'm the type of person that, like, if I want to do something, I want to do something 100%. I don't want to start it unless I do it 100%. So I'm kind of like, am I going to do it? And then eventually one day I'm like, I'm not into it anymore, which I'm almost doing right now. So I'm just like, do I completely go for it again? Or do I focus 110% on my photo and film career? So, I mean, I don't know. Then again, it won't hurt to do it on the side.
No, but I think whatever it is that you decide to do, I know you're going to go full force, and I know you're going to succeed, man.
I appreciate that.
Bringing it with Coda, with his drumming.
Oh, yeah.
I always told him, like, I'm his biggest fan.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I seen that dude since he was a kid in high school, playing drums, with my old band, Carve the Champion.
Right.
And then seeing where he's at now and how much he's progressed.
Oh yeah, dude, it's night and day. It's crazy.
And bringing it with you, like I'm your biggest fan.
I appreciate.
Wow, like
awesome.
with photos, dude, because I so much so that I wanted to put one of your pictures on our shirts because it just captures something that I was really into.
Right.
And I know whatever it is that you decide to do, it's gonna be successful.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of what do you want to do.
Right.
You get me?
Sure.
But I don't, like, your ability and your talent is undeniable, man. And I think it's just a matter of having that confidence to be like, yo, I'm the shit.
Right. Yeah, I guess you kind of have to be like that in a way.
You have to be, and with anything, and it doesn't matter if anybody else says otherwise, it's how you feel.
Yeah.
How you feel. And it's like, you know what? I'm going to fucking get it.
Right.
At a certain, maybe my ability isn't as good now, but in the future, I'm going to be the shit.
Yeah.
you
kind of have to just, like you said, consistency and keep doing it. And
dude, and let me tell you, I'll give you a quick story. There was a point when I was in high school, and it's unfortunate because I forgot this fool's name, but I'll never forget that I was at one point going to quit playing.
Oh, really?
Bass. Like, I didn't think I was good enough.
Right.
I talked about it on the last episode, but I was in a band called Happy Hannah, and I had never played bass before.
Oh wow! So this was the first experience.
This was the first experience of me, dabbling in bands. I had told my last guest that, I always wanted to play in bands. I didn't know what instrument I was going to play, but I always considered myself like a guitar player. Right. But I sucked at guitar, dude. And so this guy at one point tells me, "Hey man, like we need a bass player. Like, are you down to play bass?" And I was like, "Fuck it, cool." I wasn't good, not at all. But I was playing with these guys and I was getting by. It wasn't the greatest, but I was making it work.
Yeah.
At one point, I don't know where I was mentally, but I was like, I'm not good.
You just did, like, your confidence was just not there.
Yeah, it wasn't there. And so I almost was like, yo, I'm not gonna,
let me move on to something else.
Yeah, like I don't think I'm gonna play bass, or I don't think I'm gonna play in bands or do music. Like I don't feel like I was good. And I would see all these other cats just fucking shredding.
Right.
And so it was really discouraging, especially I'm like 15, 14, 15 years old. Right. So you're very impressionable and you see all these cats just shredding and you're just like, holy shit. But there was a dude, I remember, we were at our friend's house. His name was Aaron Mongelli. Mm-hmm. And there was like a barbecue or something. And, as a, teenage kid, you go hang out with friends, and it was during 4th of July weekend, so everyone's just like drinking and barbecuing, and they had this reggae like jam band. Like, she was friends with like these Rastafarians, which was crazy, and they were just like jamming in the garage, and so it was nothing crazy. We were just like, hanging out,
having that in the background.
Yeah, just having that in the background, but they were fucking sick. Damn. And I just remember I was sitting there checking these guys out, and this dude comes up to me, and it was like a family friend. And he was a bass player. And, I just remember talking to him, and I told him, like, hey, man, like, I don't think I'm going to play in this band or play music anymore. Mm-hmm. And he's like, why? And he was drunk, so obviously he was like, what? Like, very, like, I wouldn't say aggressive, but just kind of like, what? You know? And I, he'd ask me, like, why? And he's like, dude, like, I'm just not good enough. Like, I don't feel like I could do this. I see all these other fools just like shredding and really good, and I just don't think I'm gonna get there. And he tells me, he's like, dude, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you stop now, you're gonna regret it, because in the future, if you continue to just keep playing, even if you suck right now, you're gonna get better. You're gonna get to a point where you're confident. It's like, right now you barely started playing this instrument, and so for you to quit, you're gonna regret it in the future. Because what else are you gonna do?
For sure.
So I didn't quit, And I honestly, and it sucks. I feel so bad that I forgot this cat's name because it's been years.
Right.
It's been
the guy
like,
that you asked
that I was talking to.
Well,
yeah.
you were like, hey, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, because it was somebody that I had met like that day.
Right.
You know, and I feel really bad that I forgot his name, but it's, he was in, like if I didn't
Pivotal moment.
it was a pivotal moment. Yeah,
That's awesome.
really pivotal. Because if I stopped, I wouldn't be here. Like I feel like it's a domino effect. Like I wouldn't have experienced the things that I've
You
experienced.
might not be sitting here today.
And I wouldn't be here doing this podcast.
Right, you'd be doing something else.
Yeah, and so, that's the same with, I feel like, what you're telling me.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of just like, hey, I could do my photography, I could do my film, or, 6 Street Deep.
Right.
But regardless, I feel like you're still doing it.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're doing, you're still doing it.
Right. And I think it's important, and it's, it's funny how, like, if you would have never asked them, if you never would have struck up the courage to even start a conversation with them, and I think you can take it two ways out of life, hanging around with people that are really good, like you said, you're 15 and like, jamming around these people that were killing it. You can take it in two ways in life. Anything. You can be like, I suck, I'm going to quit. Or you can be like, I need to be here and I need to feel really uncomfortable right now.
Yeah, and that'll pass though.
Yeah, it'll pass. But I found it in, like, when I go snowboarding with Dakota or skateboarding with Dakota and his friends, I'm just like, I feel a little like outcasted, but I'm like, hey man, they're going to push you to do something else,
100%.
So it goes to any avenue of whatever you want to do. But I mean, it's uncomfortable. It feels really nasty when it's in it, but there's nothing but good that can come from it.
But I feel like that's just you putting in, it's like going to the gym. You're putting in that time, and it's not, even though you may not be up to par with other people, but you're still putting in that work, whether it be with snowboarding or skateboarding, you're still doing it and you're gonna get better.
Yeah.
And that transitions with the other, with passion, with your creativity. You're always, it may not feel good because you're gonna have that in the back of your head, like, oh shit, like I suck.
Yeah.
But you're putting in that work.
Yeah.
You're going through the trenches and just fucking grinding, and then it's gonna get, you're now comfortable and confident to where you could, hey, you want to take pictures? Let's go. I know some spots, and I know exactly.
And
what
I love, believe it or not, I still don't feel 100%.
Really?
It's.
Well,
I mean,
hey man, you hide it, man, because
I'm getting better with it. But it's all about, you're a little nervous. And I think that comes with my introvertedness. I don't know if that's a word or not, but I feel like I'm a little bit of an introvert. So photography is not something, like, don't get me wrong, people are successful as an introvert as a photographer, but it's like, you learn how to talk to people, you learn how to exchange, you market yourself. Like, it's not just, especially with anything you do, it's not, especially if you want to become like an entrepreneur with it, like, it's something that I never grew up knowing, like business skills or social skills. I guess, I learned it through school and stuff, but as far as that, I guess I totally understand what you're saying, but like, confidence level when it comes to my skill set is definitely improving, and it does come with time. But I think it's more than just that. I'm sure when you go on stage, it's kind of like, oh, I feel confident, but what if they don't like, whatever.
For sure. And I was like that too. In the beginning, like, I was very stiff. Because I was afraid to, like, let loose to see what people, I was afraid to be made fun of, or what's that person gonna
to look at or judge.
Yeah, man. And dude, you're not alone in that. I mean, I felt like that all the time.
Right.
At a certain point, something in my mind just clicked where I'm like, you know what, fuck it.
Yeah, you have to be like that.
Yeah, fuck it. Like, I'm gonna just do it. If they want to laugh because of how I dance, if I don't got moves, whatever you want to say, whatever, dude.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna just do it. For you to say that, hey, I still don't feel confident, but I'm getting that, dude. I would have never even known, because of the way I see you when we do those those photo shoots for the band, or here when we were taking photo shoots here, I don't know, because you were directing. Hey, you know what? Like, can I have you, stand
Yeah,
over
and it's
here?
kind of it's almost on the fly, like you improvise, and I'm sure that's
That's this right now.
yeah, right.
That's this interview right now
You
too.
kind of
Like,
have to fake it till you make it in a little bit.
it's all right, dude. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I would have never known,
Right.
because I see this confidence in you when we are doing the photo shoots. You directing the scene essentially, and just being like, hey, can I have you, move over here, or you know what, tilt your, you're almost crafting. It's like a sculpture,
Yeah,
in
it
a
is.
sense where you're crafting and directing, and what you see a vision, and you want to get to that, you
Right.
want to get to that vision,
Right.
and there's some pictures that we took for the that we did. There was one in particular where you like had me put my hand on my head,
Right.
and then look up, and then a part of me felt like, fuck, dude, like, do I look like dumb? But then I see the pictures and they're fucking sick, dude.
Yeah.
And
It's something with those photos where you kind of like, you just do it and you don't really, and that's what I feel like that's what makes a good photo, is just something that's original. You're not forcing it. It's almost the transition from making a different that transition from posing a pose to a pose is like, that's where you find those good moments,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like we're our worst critics when it comes to that stuff. And I don't remember if it was you. I know Dakota told it to me 100 times. I don't know if it was you either, but you were like, what if this? What if that? What if they heard that? I mean, I've heard it in the back. I'm like, bro, like,
oh, that's
people
all
don't
of us, bro.
notice it. Like, it's funny how we think like, oh my God, it's right there, but people don't notice our faults because they don't really they don't make music or photography that part of their life, so it kind of flies over their head.
Yeah, I think it's just us being super
obsession.
Yeah, super critical. That shoot, it's all of us, man.
Yeah.
Whether it be on your side with photography or myself, like that's everywhere.
Yeah, of course.
Because we spend so many hours constantly crafting, whether it be a song or you crafting a pose,
Right.
or a photo shoot. So we're always gonna see those little details. But I agree, on the other side of the fence, like, they don't notice it.
Right.
But I think it's just us wanting to be the best that we could be,
And it's
all the time.
It's a curse, and you can kind of it's a blessing and a curse where you can use it to your advantage. Don't let it cripple you, but use it to your advantage. But I guess it's kind of one of those things where, if you're in a room full of 100 people, or if I post my photo, and I follow like 900 people that aren't photographers, it's like they're gonna just judge the picture on like what it looks like. But if on the other hand, there's like maybe 15 experts that I follow that those are the ones that you kind of almost want to pay attention to, as far, music, and like, you played to like how many people before?
The most, or just
The most.
Shit, about 1,000.
That's
Yeah.
so I'm sure most of those people don't really follow music the way you do, obsess over it. So they're kind of, it's in a way, but I'm sure there is some experts in there that are kind of, that are like maybe judging you a little bit, but I don't think it ever comes from somewhere that is hurtful.
Yeah,
no,
I get that 100%.
Critiquing, I guess.
Yeah, and so what would you say? I know you were talking about constantly improving. What would you say is like your thing that you want to improve?
I guess consistency is a little bit more that I want to improve on. Finding a specific, I feel like I've been dabbling in like subject matters for like landscape photography and documentary or portraits or whatever. I kind of, especially this year, I really want to lean into figuring out exactly what I want to put out to the world and kind of stick with that. So I guess that is improving, my direction. And
Like finding your stamp, right?
finding
Your
my
identity.
And I'm getting closer. It's all about trial and error. I feel as close as I've ever been right now. So it's just a matter of time. But and I guess you can always grow. And I'm not saying I'm gonna stick with that forever. But I guess improving on really getting out there more and shooting a lot more with people, and maybe improving my business skills is probably a good thing that I should. Marketing myself better. Yeah, I mean, as far as my career path, that's kind of what I want to improve on.
For sure.
I have other things I want to improve on as well. I mean, but yeah, I guess as far as that, there's a lot to improve on.
No, I feel you, man. And I mean, that's those are things that will grow and will improve the more you do it, as long as you have that consistency to be able to continue to do it. I'm a big believer in, if you really want something, you're gonna do it, and you're gonna find the time to do it.
Yeah.
If you say that that's what you want to do, then you're gonna do it no matter what.
You're right.
You could work your 10, 12-hour job, but if you really want it, hey, work that 10, 12-hour job, and then go and do this, or whatever your passion is.
Right.
Go and do it. But man, I feel, and I agree with you. I pick it back to like with what you're saying as far as like you trying to find like that style, that identity, because I have noticed with other pictures that you have taken, and that we have used for, like, the Open Mind single, and then again with the shirt. I have to post it, so that once we release the album, we'll post the design. But
For sure.
that I do feel that you're starting to, like, you kind of are starting to find like what your style is, or what your stamp is on each picture that you take.
Right.
Because they're very similar, and that's the one thing that I noticed that caught me, was like the consistency between both pictures. Two completely separate things, but it has your touch, it has your stamp on it.
That's good to know.
I'm not sure if people have told you that,
Right.
but that's what I'm noticing. It's like there's a specific style that you're kind of starting to develop. I almost feel like I wouldn't say it's unintentional, but that's just what's organic for you.
Right.
And it's clean, man. It's fucking dope.
I appreciate that.
So,
like I said, hey man, he's my best fan. So
yeah, there you go. I'm telling you, yeah, man. With Coda, like I have always told them, Coda, and now I'm telling you, like, I'm your guys' biggest fan.
Yeah, man. Like I said, I really, really appreciate that, and I extremely admire what you're doing as well.
Thank you, brother.
I have found, especially meeting you and Josh, like, you guys are the most driven people I've met in a very long time. Like, I've met a lot of people growing up, and it's kind of talk, and then I'm guilty of it too. I'm not 100% with it, but I guess I just want someone, especially someone to work with and to grow with, and we can kind of make ourselves better. And like I said, once I met like you and Josh, I'm just like tripping out, because everything you guys said is just like, that's it. You're doing it. Like, there's nothing around it. And it's just like, that inspires me, man. And that makes me it's almost a healthy competitiveness where I'm like, oh, they're doing that. Like, fuck, I got to do something big this
man.
year,
That's dope, man. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I just, like you said earlier, it's like, dude, you only have one life to live.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? If it fails or succeeds, at least you did it.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm looking at it with this podcast, dude. It's, if it succeeds, cool. If it fails, you know what? It didn't work out.
You had fun though.
But I had fun. I had fun sitting down with you and all these other guests, and I got to, develop my relationships with people. I got to develop my social skills, because that was the same thing. Like, I was always socially awkward.
Right.
Or maybe what I wanted to say wouldn't really come across that way, because I just didn't know how to convey that. But this is an opportunity for me to be able to hone those skills. So if it failed, fuck it. At least I was able to have that happen to me, where I was able to develop my social skills. But overall, it's like, we're doing it.
Right.
And then same with music. At one point I was going to quit, dude, and if it wasn't for that dude, I probably wouldn't have been in this position that I'm in now.
Yeah.
Still having your 9 to 5, still working, but coming back home, and then you're still grinding on your passion.
Right.
But that also gets me excited for our project. That's why I hit you up, because I saw this talent that that you possess with a camera, and gave me the idea to want to shoot a short film. And that's that gets me excited, because the ideas you came across and were telling me was like, yes, that's what I'm looking for. And it's a collaborative experience for both of us, because we've never got into that realm of film.
Right. Yeah,
so
for sure.
to see your ideas and hear your ideas, and then show me clips of other films that inspired you, and then me coming with my ideas and bringing them together. Dude, I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited, and it's something that I really want to do. Once this fucking pandemic ends, hopefully
know,
soon,
seriously.
man. I'm ready to just like jump back into it.
Yeah, man. And I think it's right now you kind of have to just sharpen your knives and get ready for it. It's easier said than done, but yeah, I find myself like, man, like I feel, behind or whatever, and it's just kind of like, hey, you know what, like there's an opportunity, but it's not as open as it was, and you kind of have to just be patient and just build a skill that whatever you want to build on, and when the doors open, you kind of just have to be ready for it.
Yeah, it's adjusting to this new life, this new normal.
It is. That's crazy.
But I also feel this is a perfect opportunity for anybody that has thought of wanting to do whatever it is that they want to do it. Just because there's so much downtime.
Yeah,
like,
there
what are
is.
we doing, man? Like,
I
if
know.
I wasn't doing this or music, I'd probably just sit on my ass,
Right.
and not
Hey,
do
man,
shit.
I think anybody. So.
And so that's why it's crazy too. I see other people kind of starting their businesses, even though they can't fully like buy like a location and a spot, and but they're at least building the foundation of whatever business that they want to do.
Right.
I've seen a couple people do that. I've seen a couple people, start writing music that I have never really have done anything, but it was something that interested them, and then all of a sudden, hey, I started, I'm starting writing. I'm starting to write music. I'm starting to write a book. I'm starting, whatever it is. I think this is, with so much downtime, it's the perfect opportunity.
It kind of looks like something that's negative, but I guess you can try to pull out a positive from the situation.
You have to
transition your life or whatever, So.
Yeah, you have to, brother. You have to, because if you want to look at it in a negative light, then you're just gonna be bummed the fuck out.
Yeah.
24/7.
Yeah.
So. But I mean, to wind it down, brother, I appreciate you coming here. I appreciate you telling me your story.
Yeah.
I feel like there's so much more that we could talk about.
Yeah.
And we'll have like a part 2.
Yeah, whatever, man. I'm glad that we actually got to talk about whatever we did right now, and hopefully, inspired some people, and that's what I'm here for. And I'm really proud of that you actually fall through with this, and yeah, I'm excited for whatever comes from this.
Fuck yeah, brother. And so for people that want to, want to get in contact with you for any type of photo shoots or film or any type of content, where can they reach you?
So I pretty much really try to be minimal on the platforms, social media. I really just post to my Instagram. That's _Daniel.James with 3 S's. I believe I changed it probably a year ago, and I still don't remember. 2 S's, I think, at the end. But yeah, I follow John. I follow pretty much the whole community, Focus and stuff. So yeah, and then hopefully, been kind of really thinking about a YouTube channel this year.
There you go.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's kind of another, like I said, with the T-shirts. It's just something to express myself. So I actually got a new camera.
There you go.
Yeah.
Real quick, I know we're winding down, but
Yeah.
I want to know, with it being a new year, what are your goals? I know you said a YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one that I really want to put myself out there with. I think as far as my goals, I kind of want to, whatever I'm doing with my photo, I really want to get a little bit more consistent with, clientele, video, like at least make a couple videos this year that are really game changing to me specifically. And then probably take a couple trips solo. It's funny because I never really, maybe the past couple months, I was thinking, I'm like, I never really went on a road trip by myself, and I feel like it would be something I can take out of it, just completely put my phone away, bring my camera out with me, and document my little road trip, and I could just take pictures. And I don't know about going too far, but yeah, I was like, that sounds fun. I think I might do that this year.
Really fucking cool, dude.
Yeah, so I'm like, just with no goal intended, just kind of go out there, and so that's the thing that
it'll rejuvenate and recharge the batteries.
Yeah, I think I need to do that. So I think that's another goal that I want to do, and yeah, I mean, kind of just stay growing. Hopefully I can reach those milestones and be happy and stuff. So
cool. So everybody listening, reach out to my boy if you want photography done with, it could be bands, it could be family pictures, whatever, etc. Hit up my boy. Again, brother, thank you for coming to the CITB studio and doing this interview with me. But yeah, man, appreciate you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother.